I could go higher.
That's a little high, don't you think?
Not for me.
This is my favorite.
It's time for another Lower Decks review, and I thought my hair was lilac. Well, as usual, let's start with a non-spoiler review summary kind of thing. Very fun episode. What I liked last episode, this was much better. Really good adventure episode. Half of the episode focuses on Cerritos, half on Titan. All the characters are enjoyable, lots of new characters and lots of old characters, returning characters. As the episode name suggests, it's an episode with a Tamarian, which I don't think it's spoiled to say that, because I mean it was in the trailer and it's in the episode name. And I love it. I love the Tamarians. Like Darmok might be in my top 5 TNG episodes. Like I've always wanted to see one become a regular cast member, you know, like so we can see more of them and see them, you know, both struggling with, you know, the language difference, because, you know, the Tamarians speak in metaphor and use context clues of mythology and history rather than, you know, our grammar structure, which is what, you know, the episode Darmok is all about, because they keep saying, you know, Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra, which is referring to when the two mythical heroes, Darmok and Jalad, met at the island Tanagra, and they want to have that kind of meeting with Starfleet. The humor is on point. The actual action scenes and like adventurous part feels like there's real stakes to them. They have good tension. The reference jokes are funny, but there's plenty of like original and like internal Lower Decks jokes as well. It's getting really good at establishing its own like personality as a show, which you know, it did have that in season 1 as well, but it's much stronger now. If I do have anything I felt was a little bit negative about it, is that ultimately this is a status quo re-establishment episode. There's a lot of like setting things back to basics in this episode, and to some degree that's fine, because I get that they need some level of status quo to just, you know, maintain the ability to just tell funny episodic stories. But I don't know, I would have liked maybe for the characters to be, shall we say, off a little longer. Also, I just realized that my Starfleet Pride shirt doesn't match the order of rainbow. Like it's the reverse. I should have put the flag the other way around, because now like mine goes from red to purple and that one goes purple to red. That really annoys me. Anyway, I think we should just move into the spoiler and summary section. The intro scene this week was possibly my favorite joke in the episode. So they meet up, they're about to go into the showers, and Jet from season 1 comes up, and he's like, "Hey, I'm joining Beta Shift, I'm part of your crew now." And Mariner's like, "Oh cool, I'm like the boss around here, so just, you know, ask me if you need anything." And he's like, "Wait, is she really, like, is she the one in charge here?" And Rutherford and Tendi are like, "Yeah." And they go into the showers. And I love this because obviously everyone is naked in there, and it's a shared, the unisex shower. But apparently Starfleet, the starships, have like built-in hologram sensors. So they have like these like blur out sensors. It's not just a simple mosaic thing or a simple blur thing that would like make it look like TV censorship. Like it's a clear effect to establish that it's like this is a holographic thing going on in universe to block out nudity. And I thought that was beautiful. That was such a fun idea, and I love that. I love that so much. But then the A plot kicks in, and so we meet our Tamarian, who's the new chief tactical officer. Chief of security is his actual title, I think. And it's Lieutenant Keyshon. and he steps on board, and he immediately goes like,
Rapunky, when he joined the Seven.
And it confirms something that I have been wondering, for 2 decades. Because in Darmok, when they meet the Tamarians are clearly speaking English, and they understand English. Because the way they clue in the references and metaphors is with English words. The names, the proper nouns are not English, because they're like various proper nouns from various cultures and their own. But they're still speaking English, It is Darmok and Jalad at Tanagran, Darmok and Jalad on the ocean, Shaka when the walls fell. Like, it is English. And my assumption has been that the universal translator could understand them enough to where it translated it to Federation Standard English, but it couldn't translate the metaphors, so it just became contextless metaphors. And that is what they have it do here. So Lieutenant Keyshon, he knows Federation Standard, he speaks Federation Standard as well, but when he speaks Tamarian, it just becomes a metaphor in English. And I love that, because it sort of clears up that little plot hole in a way, that like they meet this alien race that they don't understand, that they don't even have information on how the language works, and for some reason they're speaking English. But okay, so they are about to go into this like basically collection of a bunch of things. Like it's just like it's someone in the Collectors Guild who died, and people from the Collectors Guild just collect everything. And they make a point that like, oh, didn't they try to collect data once? And someone says like, everyone tried to collect data once, which was funny. And Mariner and Jet keep clashing because they have different ideas on how to approach things. And suddenly the security system of the collection starts like going after them as if they stole something. And then Lieutenant Keyshon, first day on the job, gets shot by a beam that turns him into a hand puppet. And they better sell those hand puppets. I want a Lieutenant Keyshon hand puppet. Obviously they try to escape, and they run into a variety of other things, like basically evil space Roombas that are flying around and sucking them in and stuff, and there's like a giant furnace that tries to burn them to death, and they're trying to make it to the escape pods, and throughout all this time the captain doesn't check in on them because the captain has had her evaluation and it says that she micromanaged too much, so she's now trying a hands-off approach, and so they're just on their own. Chaos is erupting. The giant Spock is dead.
Behold, gentlemen, the dawning of a new era, the salvation of a galaxy, Spock 2.
This is probably the biggest development of Star Trek world lore thingy in the episode. They get to a room, and the giant Spock from the Infinite Vulcan is hanging dead from the ceiling. It's just a skeleton in a Starfleet uniform. Guess the Vulcan wasn't so infinite after all. And it's funny because like they reference the giant Spock in the first season in Veritas, and I mentioned that in my season 1 review.
Of course we don't always know what's going on. Did Picard know about the Borg? Did Kirk know about that giant Spock on Phylos?
It means that Starfleet, they got a report on the Infinite Vulcan, on the giant Spock from the animated series. They filed that report. They made it so anyone could read it, because that's how like the lower deckers know all these Star Trek stories, is that they read the logs of the people that were in the other shows. And at some point between then and now, the Infinite Vulcan died, which, makes some sense. It's been like 150 years, but still. And some collector just put its corpse in his room, I guess. But there's a really nice scene where Mariner and Jet like talk their differences over and how they have different approaches to things, and they agree that neither of their approaches is working. So like they should just let Rutherford and Tendi take the lead, and they do, and they save the day, and it's a really nice moment. I thought it was a really nice development for Mariner also to like be able to like admit that she likes being in charge, but she's not always the best person to be in charge. The B plot, which we cut to throughout the episode, is on the Titan, with Boimler consistently being on the verge of a heart attack from all the action. They're following the attacking Packlids from the end of season 1. That's apparently been like their big deal. It's like, why are the Packlids doing so many like high stakes terror attacks and stuff like that? And they end up going to a Veruvian mine, where the Packlids have like captured the miners. They go undercover there with an away team. Boimler is part of the away team, and 3 other people, bridge crew members. Of course, the bridge crew is going as their away team because it's one of those cool action ships, And as they're going down, like the away team was like, "Oh man, can you imagine how bored Riker must have been back when he was on the Enterprise?"
Badass like Riker? You know he'd rather have boots on the ground.
He must have been so bored on the Enterprise. I mean, 7 years of what? Exploring?
On a ship with 5 daycare centers.
Are you talking about the D? The flagship? They went to different dimensions. They fought the Borg. They insurrected.
They had regular string quartets. Wow, what a rush.
Yeah, so they go down undercover, and they get trapped in the mine as they fight off the Packlids. And they realize eventually that, like, oh shit, we're trapped. We can't be beamed out because of the Veruvian, the Veruvian dust or whatever, like, it blocks the transporter thing. And they also start bonding, much like Mariner and Jet. And Boimler's like, I didn't join Starfleet for like cool phaser battles and action scenes. I joined for exploration and diplomatic things and all these things. I love that. And that gets the other ones to open up and like talk about things that they joined for. And like, it's not all about action. Starfleet is more than just about the action. And it's really nice. And Boimler mentions, among the things that he thinks is fun to hear about was like the Enterprise D, like when Riker met his own clone, Thomas. And that makes one of them go, wait, I didn't know the captain had a clone. And Boimler's like, yeah, like there was this like distortion, like what's happening right now. So when they transported, oh wait! And so their idea is to clone themselves with the transporter, much like how Thomas Riker was created, or rather how Will Riker went on and Thomas Riker was left behind. They're gonna clone themselves through the transporter so that they can die and their clones can continue on. Which I gotta say is a very morbid plan, but a smart plan. Thomas Riker, William Riker's clone, became his own character. He spent a year or 2 remaining on the planet after the Enterprise left in that episode, and he eventually joined the Maquis and basically became a terrorist in the name of the Maquis. But yeah, so they do that thing where like they transport through the field. At first they can't catch on to Boimler because Boimler like gets trapped in the rubble, but they manage to catch on to him and beam him up. And then a shuttle is coming from the surface. Boimler survived. So now Boimler has a clone.
Mr. Boimler?
You guys made it! The Packlids got stuck in the door, so Oh man, a copy of me got transported out? Boo. I'm the transporter clone? Boo.
The distortion field must have... Oh, I've heard this tune before. Let's hear it for the Boimlers!
What are they gonna do? Well, it's obvious. One gets sent back to Cerritos and reset to Ensign, which I think is very cruel. The last part wasn't really necessary, and one will remain in the Titan. And, well, they say the original is sent back, because the original stepped forward, and it's like, I'll go. And the clone didn't step forward, and Boimler's like, wait, I thought we were both gonna... And the clone's like, nah. And the Boimler clone takes the name William, impressing Riker, because Riker likes the name William. He wanted O'Brien's son to be named William, then O'Brien's son turned out to be a daughter. But I wonder if the end of the season plot twist or something is going to be that it was the original that remained, and that going through the hardship of escaping after everyone else died led to him like becoming a bit more of a badass and being more okay with staying on the Titan. I'm predicting that might be the case. But so Boimler, the original Boimler gets sent back. Bradford, Keyshon has returned to normal. Apparently, you could depuppet him somehow. So he like throws Jet out of the friend crew, which poor Jet. In season 1, he was getting accused of cheating on having Boimler's girlfriend cheating on him, which he wasn't doing, and now he's like not even allowed to have friends. The Boimler returns, and he's like, yeah, got a transporter clone and got sent back here. And apparently that was Rutherford's bet on how he was gonna come back, so Rutherford gets money. And yeah, it's back to normal, status quo. And I don't think we needed to actually have it be a status quo thing. I think that was a bit unnecessary. And I hope it doesn't mean we won't see any Titan cutaways throughout the rest of the season. Like, we don't need them every episode, but I hope we get to see some of them. I want to know what happens with Clone Boimler, and I like just having Riker around. Like, it's just fun to see. Like, I'm not seeing, but hearing Jonathan Frakes. But yeah, like it's a fantastically funny episode, and it's one of the best episodes Lower Decks has had. But the status quo thing just makes me a little bit worried for future episodes, I guess. But it seems Lieutenant Keyshon is going to stick around. Love that. Is there anything else I can think of? Oh yeah, we got a bit more of the bird people psychologist character. I forget his name from the first season. He was the person in the therapy episode, Crisis Point. And he gets to be part of this episode as well, which I really liked. He's actually on the bridge, like a counselor, like Troy. So that makes me glad. But yeah, fun enough episode. I don't think I have much more to say about it. Just really, really fun. Little heavy on the references. Like basically the entire collection is just a bunch of references, like background references, and then we get to the big climactic plot thing in the Titan story, which also turns out to be a big reference thing. So a little heavy on the references, but that's okay. Love the episode, check it out, and I'll be back next week with another episode review of Lower Decks. I feel I have no Star Trek things visible around me this time. Oh well, that's fine. Live long and prosper.